Hi guys, welcome to Winsome Cottage Garden. My name is Hannah and I'm so glad that you could join me today. It is another beautiful day at the cottage up in northern West Michigan. And you might be able to tell from the audio that it's also quite a breezy day. I'm hoping that the audio isn't too bad. I apologize if it is, but I'm working on an area that we were just in. I've picked up a few more plants that I wanted to bring you along as I kind of fill in this space and show you as it transforms over time. Now you might be able to tell that I'm actually in the back of the cottage in the lower deck area underneath, well, patio area underneath our deck. This is a concrete pad that we have and it's a great space, and this is one of my favorite gardens at the cottage. I love this one and I love the one that we added at the top of the garage. But we recently, in a video that I'll link below, took out a overgrown Russian sage. I don't know what variety it is. I think it was one of the more old-fashioned ones that literally loved its spot, was doing great, but took up like a 5 by 10 area and was like completely overgrowing some other plants. So we actually had a couple things that we wanted to add in that space. So we ripped it out completely and are going to be moving sections of it to another area. You might be able to tell, like, there's actually some pots back there. We tried to save some. Some of it looks okay. I'm not sure about the rest, but that's a video for a different day. Right now, I have a few more plants. We added some in this video that I shared. We added some plants that I picked up on the clearance section at Lowe's. I haven't been to Lowe's this trip, but I did go to one of my favorite garden centers that has some really good pricing and has just started marking down some of their stock for the end of the season, because it is, I think it's about the 22nd of July, so probably by mid-August it'll be a lot better and I will be picking up a lot more plants and planting them. So I do have some beautiful things that are going to be going in this space, and I wanted to kind of show it to you as we keep on adding in. So this is the area. Last time we were in it, we planted some dianthus, a little bit of pincushion flower, and some spirea. There's also some creeping phlox in this area, as well as some weeds, and I'm just gonna, and weeds, and actually look at this. That is definitely the Russian sage coming back. So we also planted over here a wisteria. I actually need to get a pole that we can kind of strap it to as we are training it. So, but one of the things that I said in the last video, which is still true, we are planning on adding a rose or two here. We have our eye on a couple specific types of David Austin roses that we haven't been able to find in plant form. So we will most likely be ordering them bare root this winter and planting them out next spring to add probably like one here-ish, maybe three, honestly, depending on how big and tall they get. But I did pick up a couple more beautiful things to add to this space. One of the things that is a criteria for us, this is a beautiful view, as I think you guys can agree. We want to make sure that our the basement, which is unfinished right now but it's at my back, can continue seeing this view. So we don't want anything to grow too tall, which was another problem with the Russian sage and why we took it out. So everything I have here today is actually fairly low growing, including this guy, which is actually just coming into bloom with his Invincibelle Gardnetta hydrangea, which I'm thinking is probably going to go like on the point there. I haven't fully figured it out, but I think it'll provide such a pretty pop of late summer color here. We also have some Wisteria that I'm not sure exactly where they're going, but they'll be in here. And I picked up some low growing ornamental alliums, which are some of my favorite things, because look at how pretty they are, and they provide a lot of pretty interest in this space in the summer. You can see right now we've got some really actually beautiful things blooming over here. I don't know what this is called. This is a daylily, like a double daylily that we picked up at the Lowe's clearance rack a couple years ago, and I wish I knew what it was so I could buy some for my house, because it's just so beautiful and provides a much needed pop. We also have over here another hydrangea, which is a little bigger. Otherwise, they actually had this where I was, and I thought about buying it so it mirrored it, but it's a little bigger than we want. But it's pretty here, and I'm really happy to see it bloom because it had a lot of winter damage. You can see there's some interesting things happening. Do you see that plant, that flower right there? In general, hydrangeas will bloom pink or blue based on your soil acidity, or like a purpley color. In Michigan, especially in this area, we tend to have more acidic soil, like just slightly acidic, which means they're blue. If you have more basic soil, they tend to bloom the pink. But a lot of these beds up around the cottage, since we are on a hill, when my parents put in these retaining walls, they had to add, because the soil is so sandy, a lot of good fill dirt. Well, and it wasn't fill dirt, it was like a bedding mix. And for some reason, the pH of the soil is one that it makes it pink, which is really amusing. But I think that it's over time we expected it to kind of change back to what's natural. And I think this bloom is showing. There's actually another one here that it must be in a vein that something about it. Some of it's acidic, some of it's basic. And this one bloom is like cut down the middle. But you can see that this beautiful one, in most areas will be one color. And so this is the blue purple form, and then this is the pink. This is actually how they are when they come in. And there's a couple more that look a little bit conflicted, but it's also showing signs of, I'd say that's chlorosis. So maybe I need to bring some of my chelated iron up to treat it, because that doesn't look great. But anyway, it provides a lot of pretty interest. The rest is kind of more focused in the like early spring and summer. So one of the things I really want to do here is add some things that are beautiful, like with a foliar interest all season long, or that can provide some additional pop of color. You can see that the Lucifer's tongue Crocosema is just starting. This is such a pretty plant. You can also see, I've mentioned it before, that this is an Ann Magnolia. That's crazy. It blooms when it's not supposed to, and it's putting on its very light second flush of blooms right now. You can see a couple of them. They're not supposed to do this, but it just loves its place and has done this every year for the last 10 years. With all that said, I'm gonna set you guys up, show you the process of how I'm placing the plants, and then at the end I'll come back and show you where they ended up and give you a little bit more info about them. With the fact, keeping in mind there will be some holes, because A, I don't have a ton of plants to fill this space, and I am planning on adding those roses next year. So let's get gardening. Actually like kneeled on a rebar piece that we had in the ground for something that I don't remember. I gashed up my leg pretty well. It's gonna have a pretty gnarly bruise for a little while. So I gotta go get that cleaned pretty quickly, because I don't think I got dirt in it, but I also have nothing over it. So but before I go in and clean up my wound, I thought I would share with you what it looks like. It turned out so beautifully. And share a little bit more about these plants. So I realize the lighting is kind of odd right now, because there's some things in the shade and some things that are just filtering back into the sun. This angle might be a little bit better, but isn't this just so pretty? I love the pop of red foliage. Red foliage is actually, red and purple foliage is something I'm trying to work into more of the beds, in addition to different textures to kind of provide some depth of color. So let's dive into the specifics, starting with this Wisteria right here. This Wisteria is called a Northern Exposure Silver. I don't know if you can see, but the leaves are purple, but have this beautiful like iridescent quality in the sun that just makes them kind of like, look at this one, shine beautifully. It also has a really pretty purple underside, so when you're walking up the stairs, I think you might see some of it, which is pretty. Now it is just going out of blooms, but coral bells, which is a common name I think for Wisteria, or I've also heard it called Hukara. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce it. My dad's always said Wisteria, so that's what I say. But they put on these like sprays of really delicate blooms, and this one is a light pink, a little earlier in the year, so maybe around end of June, beginning of July. And I think that'll be just pretty with some added height. This one is a part shade. This one I'm hoping likes this space. It might be a little too sunny for it. I thought I'd stick it here, watch it for the next year, and move it if I have to, because it likes a part shade to shade position. I think when we get our roses in, let me back up a little bit. I had the hardest time laying out this space. You may have seen me kind of come and looking at it a couple times, because originally we had been thinking we would get 1 or 3 roses. Now I'm thinking I want 2, and I'm gonna put one right here and one right here. We're thinking about the Roll Doll Rose, which is a really pretty apricot-y peachy color that I think would play off all of these colors beautifully. So I had to move stuff around because a couple of these got a little wider than I thought. But I am thinking that this, once the roses are in and grown, this is probably going to be part shade, because it'll get shaded by the roses and the crocosema, and also by Anne Magnolia. So we'll see. If it doesn't like it, I can pull it later. And that's the Northern Exposure Wisteria. It's part shade to shade, grows about 12 to 14 inches high, which is really, I think, the bloom stalks. I mean, but looking at that, I'd say that's more like 24 inches of the bloom stalk, so maybe it's talking about the leaf canopy. But it'll get 18 to 20 inches wide, so it'll definitely fill out a little bit, and it's a zone 4 through 9, so I think it should do pretty well here. If I move over here, you can see that I added some ornamental onions. These are summer peekaboo ornamental onions, and I've never grown these before, but I was really intrigued by a couple things when I saw them at the garden center. First of all, well, and actually here, I have another one right here, so I can show you right here. Look how fluffy these are. I just love these blooms. I love allium blooms in general. I think they're just so pretty, and they add like spots of whimsy. So I actually have 3 in this area. I have one right there, one right here by the path, and one right next to the Lucifer's Town. One of the reasons I really bought these was they're fairly low growing. The leaves are gonna get 6 to 8 inches tall, and then the blooms are make them about a foot off the ground. So I think that is pretty full height-wise. But according to this, the spacing is 1.5 to 2 feet, which surprised me when I got here. So I think they're really gonna stool out and provide, I'm sorry, it is very, very windy. I don't know if you can see it. There's no white caps, but there's definitely white caps on the lower lake today. So I apologize, because I'm sure the audio is not the best. But again, these get 1.5 to 2 feet wide, which is going to be really, really pretty. I think in particular, these blooms with like the foliage accents and like a peachy colored rose, which the Roll Doll, which is what we're thinking of, would just look dreamy, especially also with this plant over here. Let's talk about it. This is a hydrangea that I have been interested in trying for a bit, ever since I really saw it. It is an Invincibelle Garnetta. I know I mentioned this earlier. It's supposed to bloom somewhat earlier in the season, so like you can see that its blooms are just starting. I think that if it was in the ground, it'd be a little further along, which is interesting. But it's supposed to only get 2.5 feet tall and wide, which is what really intrigued me about this. I am so excited to see how this fills out, because I think it's going to provide just the prettiest little pop of color right here, especially with the red of this Wisteria that's down by its thing. It just kind of ties everything together. And actually here, I'm gonna go like this, and it looks weird because of the lighting, but you'll be able to see such really pretty layers with it against the crocosema and drawing your eyes forward, especially with if you'll be able to see the chives just past it. I am so excited about this one. It is a part shade to full sun plant. It is pretty cold hardy. It's zone 3 through 8, which is really amazing. And as I said, it'll get 2.5 feet tall and wide, so 2 to 3 feet is what I'm planning on. Yeah, and it blooms in the late summer and into fall. So it's not deer resistant at all. Otherwise, we'd probably put it everywhere. It's a proven winter's plant. And just, this is an older bloom. And it just looks so pretty. It's an older bloom, but like it's also got these like little like sparkly like white things. This is a newer one that hasn't really come out yet, but it's just such a beautiful color. And red is one of my mom's favorite colors, and this is like a reddy pink that I thought would be so pretty in this area. You may have seen me grab last minute. These plants look really sad. They're actually some hyacinth that my mom got for her Mother's Day, so I just stuck them in the ground. Maybe they'll come back, maybe they won't, which isn't a big deal. I should probably cut them back after a little bit. But you'll also be able to see that we have another Wisteria here called Forever Red. And this one, if you can see it more in the sun right here, it just like glows in the sunlight, to be honest. And I don't know if this one has one, but the others do. Let me go look. Yeah, here, it hasn't bloomed yet, which I thought was also really interesting. So it's just putting on some bloom stalks, which is gonna be really pretty because I don't know what it looks like. The picture doesn't show, it just shows the really pretty red foliage. This one is an early spring to fall, so maybe it's a rebloomer. It's a part shade to shade, but I think since it's so close to the path, it will like it. It only gets about 7 inches tall. So I thought that it would do well right at the edge of the bed. It'll get about 14 inches wide and is a zone 4 through 9. To be honest with Paulbells, I love their delicate bloom structure, but I think you plant them just as much for the leaves as you do for the bloom. So that bed really took a really big leap forward in filling out today. I'm looking so forward to being able to get our hands on some of the roses to really like fill it out. We'll probably come around with some mulch soon to keep the leaf production down. I didn't pull a ton of leaves. I was going to, and then when I hurt my leg, I thought I would just quickly plant the plants and then go inside to get it taken care of and cleaned up because I don't want to get an infection. So anyway, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I can't wait to see this space even as the season progresses. I'm sure I'm going to point it out in garden tours to keep you guys up to date as these things kind of stool out and fill in. And I think when we get our roses in, it'll just look completely beautiful and really match, and you can see them right here, the daylilies on the other side. So thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so sorry about the wind, but hopefully you still enjoyed it, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. Bye-bye.